Welcome everyone to the June 24th, 2021 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission. The following statement will first be read. The town of Burlington will be holding the June 24th meeting of the Conservation Commission as a hybrid meeting due to the expiration of the state of emergency that was issued due to COVID-19 virus on March 12, 2020. Please note that the option for remote participation through WebEx is being provided as a courtesy to the public. The meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to or view this meeting while in progress may do so by tuning into the BCAT Government Cable Access Channel, the BCAT Government Meetings Facebook Live feed, or you can join the meeting over the phone at 408-418-9388, meeting number 173-596-3961. That information is being displayed on the monitor. To join the WebEx live video conference, click on the link on the Conservation Commission's meeting page or on the Town of Burlington's calendar. Or go to WebEx and hit join meeting and put in the same meeting number and the password code that's indicated on the agenda. The public will be able to make comments during the hearing, during the time for public comment. Questions can be asked through WebEx or the WebEx chat function. All persons wishing to ask a question or make a comment must identify themselves. New public hearings tonight will not be closed so as to allow comments from those who are unable to access or uncomfortable with the technology. Comments and concerns regarding public hearings should be emailed to conservation@burlington.org before the next meeting on July 8th, 2001. Okay. So the first,
Does that really say 2001?
2021.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I listened.
2021. Okay. All right. Normally it says 2020, actually. So I got it wrong in both cases. Okay, now as far as the agenda goes, we have a few items that are not being heard tonight. Item 7A was a minor engineering change request for Vandergraaf roadway to reconfigure approved drainage structures. That particular request has been withdrawn. The issue that was involved with the engineering change has been resolved. The items number 10, 11, and 12, the Redmond Street roadway, number 4 Redmond Street, and number 12 and number 5 Redmond Street, with the proponent being Somerset Realty Trust, has been continued until our next meeting of July 8th, 2021. At this time, I will entertain a motion. Well, before we do that, let me go through the roll call in the meeting. The roll call, I will call on each person because we have a combination of remote and hybrid and in-person people here. Each person will have to be called upon. When I call your name, please signify by saying aye or present. Don Bernstein. Gail Lima.
Present.
Indra Deb. Marked as absent. Bill Boyden.
Present.
Jennifer O'Riordan.
Present.
Ed Loturco.
Present.
And for the record, Chair Larry Cohen is present. Associate Commissioner Kent Moffett.
Present.
Okay. Conservation Administrator John Keeley.
Present.
Assistant Conservation Administrator Eileen Coleman.
Present.
All right, thank you. First item of business is to call for a motion to continue items number 10, 11, and 12, the Redmond Street roadway, number 4 Redmond Street, and number 5 Redmond Street, requested by Somerset Realty Trust to be continued until our meeting of July 8th, 2021.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Don, how do you vote on the motion?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 6-0-0. Items 10, 11, and 12, the Redmond Street roadway, number 4 Redmond Street, 5 Redmond Street have been continued until July 8th, 2021. All right, the first item after calling the meeting to order is citizens' time. Is there anyone that's present before us or online that would like to raise an issue that's not on the agenda? We have citizens' time and you're free to do that. All right, the record should show that no one is here for citizens' time. Next, we have the approval of minutes, June 10th, 2021. Does anyone in the commission have any comments to make on the minutes of June 10th, 2021, other than edits?
Didn't see them.
Yeah, haven't seen them.
I don't think we got them.
Did we not get them?
Minutes.
Minutes of June 10th, I didn't see them.
I'll get the minutes.
That's right, I didn't see them on the list of stuff.
No.
We will bypass this and move on.
Next.
Okay, we can't approve them if we haven't seen them. Okay, next we have a request. Number 4 is a request for extension to order of conditions and our wetland bylaw permit requested by the town of Burlington DPW. It is for the townwide stream cleaning using the vectoring machine, DEP file number 122-394. John or Eileen, for what term is this request for?
For 3 years.
All right, so we have a request for a 3-year extension. Could I have a motion to indicate?
Want to hear anything about?
What's that?
Megan's on.
I was gonna say, I'm here in case, I was like, in case you have any questions, I'm actually here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't think
No, that's
anybody.
okay.
Okay, so Megan, would you like to say anything about what's planned since we have someone?
So unfortunately, we don't have anything planned for this year because of budgeting, but we do have something planned for next year. So we're hoping to get the extension so that we can continue with the stream cleaning process. We have a couple streams that we actually saw that we want to put on the list. So we're hoping to get this extension just to continue this good work that we kind of like. It makes streams run better, and I know that it kind of works good for everybody in the town.
When you say next year, do you mean next fiscal year, starting July 1st?
So it will be next summer. I'm not sure when in the summer it will be. It's on starting in July is when we'll get the money for that. So it will be sometime next summer that it will get done.
I see, so not this year.
No, unfortunately, we didn't have it in the budget for the 2020 year, and it's not enough time with just having 2 months to put out a new project. So we're gonna just wait until next year to be able to do it.
Yeah. John, we have not determined that factoring would be helpful around Maud Graham Circle where we get the complaints. And that's all beaver dams, right?
I'm not really sure. I mean, it has been vectored several times in the past.
See, but we have a year to think about it.
Right.
Okay, all right. All right, does anyone have any questions or any comments for Megan? Since she was nice enough to tune in.
Nope.
All right, so was the motion made? No. We have a motion to extend the order of conditions wetland bylaw permit to the town of Burlington DPW for townwide stream cleaning vectoring, DEP file number 122-394 for 3 years. So second.
Second.
Okay. Don, how do you vote? Yes. Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Ed?
Yes.
The chair votes yes by a vote of 600. The townwide stream cleaning vectoring project permit is extended for 3 years. Megan, thank you.
Thank
for
you.
showing up.
Oh no, thank you. That was the easiest presentation I've ever had.
You go. Okay. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have item 5 is a request for a certificate of compliance, 10 Great Meadow Road, Town of Burlington, DEP file number 122-630. This is the new DPW facility that was recently completed, and the commission was there. John, do you have any comments from your perspective, or Eileen?
Need to have you pass over this item. We're still waiting for some more documentation, basically stamps on as-built plans and information.
All right, so we don't need to discuss it any further.
We'll just continue this to the July 8th meeting.
All right, could I have a motion to continue the request for a certificate of compliance for 10 Great Meadow Road by the town of Burlington? Is there such a motion? To July 10th,
So moved.
July 8th, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, Don, how do you vote on continuing it?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
And Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes by a vote of 6-0-0. The request for the certificate of compliance for 10 Great Meadow Road, requested by the town of Burlington, is continued until our next meeting on July 8th. Okay. All right, next we are on item 6A. Notice is hereby given, the town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting in the main hearing room at the town hall. At this meeting, the commission will act upon a request for determination of applicability filed by William Ikea. The commission will be taking information related to proposed removal of 10 trees within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative woods and/or riverfront area. The property is located at 6 Erin Lane, and we will thereafter issue a determination. The application is being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14, and a copy of the application is available by email by writing to conservation@burlington.org. Okay, is there someone here for this project?
Larry.
Yes.
So do you all have the paperwork in front of you? Okay, I have what I need.
All right, you're welcome to, there used to be a center table.
No, it's now here.
We have a side table now.
Side table, perfect.
All right, so the way this works is you introduce yourself, where you live, and then you get to say whatever you want regarding summarizing what you're asking.
Perfect. Okay, well, welcome everyone. My name is Will Eicher. I live at 6 Erin Lane, longtime Burlington resident, lived here my whole life. New to Erin Lane, lived there 2 years now. I have 10 trees that I'm requesting to be taken down professionally. Out of those trees, I've had an arborist come out to view the trees. 3 he has indicated do need to come down due to some issues with the trees, potentially. I have 2 very large pines that are healthy, but at this time are very close to my house. I have fears that they will come down on my house and damage my property and potentially hazard to my family and children. There are additionally 1 dead tree that's further back, but I'm requesting to come down. It's completely, the top is gone, the base is eroded, I could take down. There's 3 trees that are on the left side of my property that are pines. They're not within the 100-foot buffer, but I'm including that in the request just to be transparent to what I'm trying to do in the yard. Those are bordering my neighbor's yard, and I request to take those down as well. There are 2 other trees that are overhanging the house that I'm requesting to take down as well. That's the 10 trees.
Very good. Thank you for the summary. Okay, Eileen or John, whoever's talked, could you give us some comments and if there's any concerns?
Okay, so I'll take it. I'm not sure if you guys can see that very well. It was in the documentation that Will provided. He based this on the as-built of the original house. So we've got a pretty good idea, at least where the wetland was at that time. And this little triangle here was actually a conservation restriction. And all of this property to the right-hand side of his is actually it's owned by the town, and there's a considerable wetland on that property. So as he described, 3 of the trees along the right-hand side are in pretty bad shape. 2 of them are very, very, very close to being on town land. We weren't absolutely sure where it was, but since they're ill, I don't have any concerns about those particular trees coming down. Can you say trees or no? The one at the back, as he said, is definitely completely dead. And he wants, I think he and his neighbor are hoping to replace those at the left, which is outside the buffer, with a row of arborvitae. So there are a lot of trees on his property, and I think everything that he's proposing to come down is in a fairly, it's either at the edge of woods or it's fairly heavily wooded. There's nothing really even in lawn. So I don't have any concerns about any of these trees coming down. And apart from the ones at the left, I don't necessarily think they need to be replaced. I think that there'll just be a natural replacement over time.
Okay, so let's start with Gail. Do you have any comments?
So you were gonna check, just make sure that all those trees are on his property and not on town property.
John and I chatted a bit about this morning, and as I said, we just decided that since those two trees they were two of the damaged trees anyway.
They were the ones that were there.
It kind of didn't, it was
Okay.
kind of moot,
Yep.
felt,
And I mean, there it is a wooded area. Are we thinking of leaving any snags? Is that something that, we had talked about, when we were out there, you had mentioned?
the way we worded the draft determination, we were definitely encouraging him to leave some snags. I would suggest at least the dead one at the back.
Yeah.
Left, which is going to be hard to get at anyway, if you were to just cut that down to 10 or 12 feet. And then I'd leave the stumps of the ones on the right-hand side, just because that they're so close to the wetland. But I have no issue with them removing the ones on the left.
Yeah, I was just, I hate to lose any trees, but I understand, what you want to do here. I would just make sure that you're clear with your tree removal guy that they're not going to damage any other trees. I have seen people who, because some of your trees are behind other trees or in woods, and sometimes I've seen tree guys take down other trees to make it easier to get to what they're trying to get out. So we just want to make sure it's just the trees that I've noted.
No?
I'm against removing the two pines, the two healthy, mature, tall, strong-looking pines. I don't know if you're aware, but trees don't live single. They live in a grove and they communicate amongst each other. And when you cut a tree like that that's healthy, it reacts, it goes into shock, and it sends signals to all the other trees, and all those other trees are weakened by sending nutrients to the damaged tree through the roots. So often, cutting one tree affects the other trees as well. So I hate to see healthy, strong trees come down. It's my viewpoint.
All right, Don.
Any further comments?
All right, we have Jennifer. Comments on this one?
I tend to agree with Bill on the fact that if there are healthier trees there that don't absolutely need to come down, then I would prefer that did not happen. But it wasn't clear to me if those two healthy ones were within our jurisdiction to say whether or not they could. But sparing any trees that we can would be great, especially if they're healthy.
Ed.
Just the tree that's in the back, I don't know if I heard it. We were gonna cut that 10 feet above the ground. The bad one that's really rotted.
Yeah,
Correct, yes,
correct.
yes.
Yep.
Can I just point something out to Bill, if you wouldn't mind? That according to the note that the arborist wrote, he felt those two pines, I think you mean on the right-hand side, they both had some damage. So they weren't entirely healthy.
No, those weren't the ones he was talking about, right? There were two pines that were healthy, but just were tall and close to the house.
Correct. The ones that are very close and just massive. I just fear that popular in wetlands, the roots are wet and they're just so huge, so close to my bedroom. I agree. I don't want to cut any of the trees down. I moved to that area because I love the trees. They just, when the wind blows and I've seen the other pines fall in my neighborhood across the street, just makes my family very nervous to have those massive trees so close to me. And there are other, I don't know the details around the roots. That sounds right. I'm not trying to cut down trees I don't need to, but they're just so big and next to my house, so close.
All right, Kent, any comments on this one?
No, I think Jennifer and Bill and everybody else covered it.
All right. For myself, I don't have an issue with this request because there was enough smaller trees trying to get a foothold that I felt that those trees would have room to kind of go up. So I wasn't as concerned that those trees were coming down as others have expressed. Is there anyone in the audience for this? Is there anyone who, this is for 6 Erin Lane. Is there anyone online who perhaps has a comment about this, who hasn't talked? I guess not. On one side, it's all woods, so you're probably not going to get a comment from that side.
I mean, it is,
You might,
it's a very
tonight, after the.
intense area, and you've seen that there's a lot of other mature trees in there, but yeah, there's no butter. Everyone of butter is on the side of the house with the trees that aren't in.
But one of butter, has he said anything to you about this request?
Yes, it's the 3 trees that we talked about taking down on the left-hand side.
Inside the buffer zone?
Correct. He actually approached me to take them down. So he's when I moved in, so he's definitely on board.
All right. All right. Do you have a draft to consider?
Does anyone want paper copies?
I do not. I do
have
not.
it. I think, I thought I had, yeah. Too bad.
I need one.
Some people can.
Yeah.
The plan
Right, Michael.
to the post-plot plan for 6 Erin Lane with tree location. property.
I'm all
Okay,
set.
another one's coming.
The applicant proposed to cut 10 trees, 7 of which.
I guess I didn't have.
Then the 100-foot buffer zone to BBW. For the purposes of this filing, the Conservation Commission made no finding as to the exact boundaries of the wetland resource areas on site. 2 of the trees are either in or very close to town-owned conservation property, but were determined to be in poor condition by a certified arborist because of the density of tree cover and the poor health. Some trees did not require replacement of tree. This decision is only for work as described in the application and no other additional work. Applicant may proceed with tree removal. If removal of any of the trees beyond those permitted by this decision is recommended, this will require additional approval from the conservation administrator and require submission of a written assessment by a certified arborist that they pose a hazard or are in significant decline. For tree trimming or removals that are not feasible to do by hand, machinery such as a bucket truck or crane shall be located in the driveway or existing lawn areas. Stumps of trees outside the grassed lawn and within the buffer to BBW shall not be removed without additional approval from the commissioner or administrator. The applicant is encouraged to leave snags where feasible for wildlife habitat. Don't dump any sediment or plants in the vegetated wetlands, and if they fall in, please remove them. Don't use pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides within 100 feet of wetlands. And members of the commission or their representatives shall have the right to enter upon and inspect the premises just to determine that the tree project went as described. Non-compliance shall be deemed a violation of the Wetlands Protection Act. And if you have any questions, but we can go forward.
So does anyone on the commission want to make any changes to this? Propose a motion to amend this?
Well, I would amend it to be cutting 8 trees, leaving those 2 pines.
Do you want to go through, try to make a motion to amend?
Yeah, otherwise I'll just vote no. So let's try that.
Okay.
I propose to just modify this to say that the applicant is proposing to cut 8 trees, leaving those 2 healthy, large pines.
And those are the ones right closest to the house,
They're
right?
close to the house, yes, but
Okay.
they're large, healthy, strong-looking trees.
All right. Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second, this is Jennifer.
All right, is there anything anyone would like to say? We've kind of debated the issue a little bit by sharing our opinions.
No, I think I made my point.
I do too. So I didn't think there was anything new, but I thought I'd ask. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to change the amount of trees being cut from 10 to 8. It's a motion to amend. Let me go through. Dawn, how do you vote? If you vote yes, it's changed to 8. If you vote no, it stays the way it is.
Yes.
Okay, Gail?
No.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Ed,
No.
the chair votes no. So we have,
Our alternate,
But does not pass.
doesn't work,
what, is that 3-3?
Yeah,
yeah.
So the motion fails.
correct.
So I'd just like to make a comment. So I agree with Bill in terms of, that being, most people would come to my house and, how do you live in that house? Why aren't you frightened? You might have, I could, right outside my deck is a tree that's, it's not in great shape, but the birds love it, I love it. I've been there the house has been there since 1960. It hasn't moved. I've got pines very close to my house that, they move in the wind, but that's what they do, and there's all kinds of great biomechanics studies that shows how trees can bend in the wind, but they don't break. And those trees are very healthy and they're much smaller. They're big, but they're not as robust looking as yours. But, I guess I can understand, I can't, be in your shoes. There are sure times that I'm in my bedroom at night when some of the storms and I'm frightened because the wind is howling and I see the trees moving, but nothing has, come down yet, luckily. But I also have seen in other neighbors' yards, in a storm or after a lot of rain, that pines will sometimes uproot and have fallen. But with that said, just because it's a pine tree doesn't mean it's a weak tree that it's going to go. I think pines get a bad rap, but they provide a lot of really good habitat in the winter because of they have their needles, and so a lot of wildlife like to winter in them. But also, you have to be careful taking down pines because especially if they're in a group, they tend to protect each other, not just through nutrients, but just from the wind and things like that. If you start cutting down trees, and you're exposing them to more wind and so forth. So, I can see that these are close to your house, and you're uncomfortable about that, and I can appreciate that. I guess I'm not as uncomfortable personally, but I'd love to see them stay, but I also respect how you feel.
All right, anyone else on the commission? Kent or anyone, one of the commissioners want to say anything further?
This is Ed. I can honestly respect the request. I've had the same exact thing happen, and the tree did break and hit my roof. So I basically have to respect the need of safety for a family, that you have to, every night you go to bed, you're just waiting for something to happen when there's a bigger storm outside. So I still feel pretty much the respectfulness for what this family's trying to do.
Yeah, I'd like to make then one last comment. First of all, I agree with Gail that I respect your request, and I can understand how you would feel with such a large structure right next to your house. Right? So I get it. On the other hand, I would say that that's an exceptionally strong tree. It looks like it has they have very solid bases. The fact that they sway is exactly what they do. And there probably is less chance at coming down because you're surrounded by woods, and that actually breaks a lot of the wind. And that's another way where they work. So you can talk to your family. Depending on how this vote goes, it looks like it will probably be approved. We haven't voted yet on the main set of conditions for you. But I think you probably are not I feel you're not in as much risk, and I would feel, if it was me, I would not be in as much risk as you might think you are. Okay.
I appreciate that, but around the corner, we've had, over the last 2 years I've been there, some of these big storms, and some of those pines have come down. We've seen that across the street.
I mean, there's no question that pines with thinner trunks and stuff like that, they do come down. There's no question about that. But anyways, I said what I wanted to say too, and you can obviously take it into consideration. All right, so next on the agenda is to take a vote on the set of conditions, a negative conditional determination. And it's been reviewed. So are there any changes to that now beyond that? All right, could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the project for tree removal at 6 Erin Lane?
Moved.
Second? Okay, fine. Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
Okay, Jennifer?
No.
All right, Ed?
Yes.
The chair votes yes by a vote of 402. The project.
420.
420, correct. 420, the project is approved. So you're all set for now,
Thank you.
okay?
Just one question on the date. It says June 29th. Is that,
Because officially you'll get it in a few days.
okay, perfect.
Because we,
I want you to know that your small little project has the distinction of having one of the most contested votes we've had in a long time. It doesn't happen very often.
I appreciate everyone's input.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I couldn't.
No, you voted, can you sign it?
Huh?
Can you sign it even though you voted it?
oh,
Just, you know, like,
yeah, no, yeah.
Not supposed to sign, is he? If he
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
can?
You don't even have to have voted it. We just need 4 signatures.
It doesn't mean
Oh,
that's how you.
Just recognizing that it was voted that way.
Yeah.
Okay, I see, okay. All right. Okay. We are now on item 6B. Notice is hereby given. The Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting in the main hearing room. The meeting, we will act upon a request for determination of applicability filed by Michael Vianney and Marshall DeForest. The commission will take all information related to the proposed construction of residential additions and a garage within a 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands. The property is located at 19 Arnold Terrace, and after we hear it, we'll therefore issue a determination. The application is being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14. And again, you can get a copy of this application by writing by email to conservation@burlington.org. Okay, is there someone either here or online for this project?
Yes, Michelle and Marshall, we're online.
Oh, great. Good to see you. Okay, so please introduce yourself with your full names and your location so we hear it for the record, and then you get to talk first.
I'm Michelle Vianney,
And Marshall DeForest?
and we live at 19 Arnold Terrace. Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
We can, thank you.
Just making sure.
Sure.
Oh, is somebody else talking? Sorry. Maybe not. Okay. We are constructing an addition on the right side of our house, which is on the opposite side of the property from where the conservation wetlands are, but within, I guess, the 100-foot buffer zone. So we're doing a 2-car garage with the second floor
Can't
on
hear.
top. Yeah. Yeah, so that picture in the that Eileen is sharing right now. So we are doing a 2-car garage and second story above it, as well as bumping out the back kitchen and the front dining room, just 1 story, not 2 stories for that. And the wetlands are on the western side of our property. And that's pretty much the majority of it, so.
You all finished with your comments?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure. I didn't want you to
Sorry.
interrupt. All
Yeah.
right. All right, so Eileen or John, could you offer us some comments or concerns if you have any?
Sure, I can. So this came through me because I deal with the building permits now online. So I thought that they were close to wetlands, so they filed immediately. I like the way they've actually represented the wetland here with just the shading. The wetland is kind of in between the 2 properties. We actually saw the property next door recently because you allowed them to build a pool. So because of the way the house is oriented and the wetland is at least 50, 55 feet away from the construction portion because it's on the other side of the house. So it's on the eastern side of the house, and I had no real concerns about this project given the fact that there's an existing deck in a portion of the house between new build and the wetland.
All right, thank you. All right, so I guess we'll start with Gail. You have
No.
comments?
That-
Bill, do you have any comments on this one?
Just about rooftop runoff from that new addition. Is it going to be how is it going to be handled?
Yeah, I saw in the draft, that there was some mention of handling it by putting it directly into like a dry well. We do have a dry well already that we did,
Okay.
that we handle some runoff in, so we figured we could tie it into that, so.
Okay, that would be ideal. Otherwise, everything is further away from the wetlands than existing, so I have no problems with it.
Okay.
All right. Don? Anything?
No comment.
All right, Jennifer?
I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Ed?
Nothing.
Kent? Okay, the chair has no comment. Is there anyone in the audience? This is a project at 19 Arnold Terrace for an addition. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment or ask a question? I guess not. The record should show the answer is no. All right, so we have a draft negative conditional determination. If approved, it imposes a few routine conditions on your project and the project is approved. So we're going to review it and then vote.
Okay, so the applicants provided two plans, one showing the existing conditions, one showing proposed work plan, which is what I shared with you earlier, showing the replication of wetlands. The applicant proposed to construct a two-story addition to the right side of the existing house, one-story additions to the back of the house. Proposed work would be located within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland. The proposed work would be about 50 feet from the wetland at its closest point, as the addition is on the opposite side of the house from the wetland. The commission makes no finding as to the exact boundaries of the wetland source areas on site. The commission is voting to issue a negative determination of applicability only for the work as outlined in the project description. No other work has been reviewed or permitted by this decision. And prior to commencing any work beyond what's permitted in this decision, the applicant should contact the Conservation Department in order to determine whether or not a new filing will be required. No removal of trees, shrubs, or alteration of naturally vegetated areas is permitted by this decision. All construction and demolition materials and excavated soil shall be disposed of off-site in a legal manner. If any sediments are tracked onto the roadway, that should be cleaned daily. No filling or grading on the property beyond what is required for the approved work, and if any grading is to change, please come back to us. Rooftop runoff from the addition shall be infiltrated on the lot and not discharged into roadway or adjacent lots. Method of infiltration, for example, dry wells, which is what Colin suggests, shall be reviewed and approved by the Conservation Department and should be appropriately sized. This project shall not increase the rate or volume of runoff nor cause flood or storm damage to abutters. Again, no using pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides within 100 feet of the wetland. Members of the commission or staff may visit just to check on proceedings. And the last condition is just a standard one about what is required to sign off on an occupancy permit.
Okay, so you folks, do you have any questions on what you've heard so far?
I don't think, I guess the only part I have a question on is about that one number 6, is it the rooftop runoff? Do we have to do anything as far as submit a plan for that formally, or does it get inspected, or I don't know?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, because if they're using an existing infiltrator, they may not have those calculations readily available.
A dry well.
Dry well.
Do you know how big your existing dry well is?
No.
I'm just wondering if it'll be big enough to take the new runoff without calculations. We can talk offline about this. This isn't going to stop your project. Why don't you contact us next week to see if we can get an idea about how big your existing dry well is and whether something small might need to be added. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because you can also go with the drip edge trenches, which a lot of people do for new construction.
Okay.
Eileen, there might be some historical records filed with the town somewhere.
There might be, and that's why I need a couple of days, or they might, just to find out how big the existing dry well might be.
Right.
It might be plenty big.
Right.
think, yeah, I'm not sure, yeah.
All right, so the draft's been reviewed. Any comments by the commission?
Nope.
Okay, so could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the project at 19 Arnold Terrace under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and State Wetlands Protection Act? Second?
Second.
All right, so how do you vote?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes for a vote of 0-0. The project at 19 Arnold Terrace is approved.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you. All right, we're on item 6C. Notice is hereby given. The Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting, during which time we have another request for determination of applicability. This one was filed by Thomas and Samantha Blanchett. The commission will take all information related to the proposed construction of residential additions within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands located at 17 Spruce Hill Road. And we will thereafter issue a determination. The application is being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14. And this application also is available by request by email at conservation@burlington.org. Okay, so are there some folks here for this one?
Good evening. My name is Jamal Siddiqui. I'm going to be representing Tom and Samantha this project.
All right, thank you for showing up tonight. So you're representing them, and I gather you do not live at the property.
I do not, but Samantha and Thomas are both on the call.
Hello.
All right. Hi there. Hi. Okay, so would you like to say anything about what's being proposed? Normally, we give you as our guest first chance.
Yes, please. So the project's located at 17 Spruce Hill Road. There's an existing first-story structure on the right side of the property, which we are hoping to partially reconstruct because there are structural elements which are questionable, and then build a second story above that. We would not be changing any of the water runoff. It would be the same footprint, exactly the same footprint, exactly the same water runoff as well. So very little changes. It is within the 100-foot buffer zone, but no changes to the structure or footprint as far as the sizing on the first floor.
Okay, thank you for that summary. Eileen, are you taking this one?
I'll take it again. We might want to ask Jamal a little bit more just about unless I just missed it, about the building. So, but let me tell you just about the resource areas. So on this plan that we're sharing, the wetland line that we're seeing there is the wetland layer according to Mass GIS. And John and I went out there and we determined that that's not really accurate. That's not all wetland. There's definitely wetland along the right-hand side where it says it's parcel 5 and some portion of the property, but it's not a huge swath of wetland all across the back. So it looks less concerning than it is at first glance. There is an existing sort of, I guess it's like a porch sort of thing, sort of like a not very sturdy room, which is what they're proposing to replace. So we might just want a little bit more detail on whether we're just putting footings in or, you know, what your foundation is going to look like on this. But just based on my chats with Jamal, and he's been also, you know, very, very responsive about this, I don't have any concerns about this project either.
I can review what the footings are going to be if you'd like me to go over that.
Sure, you're welcome to do
So
that.
we're suggesting one of two options, either helical piers from Goliath, or just going traditional sonotubing, but most likely going to be going with helical piers because we are proposing a second story above that, and those tend to be a lot easier to install and less invasive, where you're not really doing a lot of excavation or anything like that. They come in with the machine, they screw the piles down into the ground, and it's the least invasive manner of getting footings in their new locations.
Okay. All right, let's see if any of the commissioners have any comments. Gail?
No, if I remember correctly from our visit, this kind of occupies the same footprint as what's there, except for going up. So that, I'm sure you'll ask about the roof element. But no, it seems pretty straightforward to me.
All right, Bill, comments?
Gail is right. I'm going to ask you about the rooftop runoff. So you said it's going to be the same as it is now. So could you describe what's there now and how it's going to be after construction?
Sure. There's a shed roof on the back side and a gable roof on the front side existing. What we're suggesting is still a flat shed roof on the rear and then a gable dormer area on the front. We are going to be tying into the existing gutter system. We're not changing anything on the first story, at least on the front side, which there is a gutter which is connected to an underground system. So we're just going to connect into that, and the same thing goes for the rear side.
All right, so you're literally connecting exactly to the same thing.
Exactly the same thing. No change at all.
No change in the footprint or the drainage. I'm fine.
Okay, Don?
Looks good to me. I'm good with it.
Jennifer?
I don't have any any other comments at this time. Sorry.
All right, Ed?
Nothing to add.
All right, I don't really have anything else. Is there, Kent, let me ask you. Kent, anything?
No, Bill answered all my questions.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience for this? All right, the record should show there's no response. Eileen, is there any concerns about anything on this property that we need to talk about?
No, I don't think so. As I said, part of the reason why, I was concerned initially is because I could see that wetland layer looked like it was really, really close to the house. But when we were out there, we were sort of appeased by the actual on-the-ground conditions. So I don't have, other than what we've proposed in the draft determination, I don't really have any concerns that aren't addressed by that.
All right, so why don't we review the draft, please?
Okay. So in this case, we actually got very detailed architectural set of 5 architectural plans. We also got the proposed plan, which I'm sharing there. The applicant proposed to construct the existing ground floor closed porch and build a second-story addition above that, which will be to the right side of the existing house. Proposed work would be located within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland and about 55 feet away from the wetland at its closest point. The commission is making no findings as to the exact boundary of the wetland source site. The commission is voting to issue a negative determination only for work as outlined in the project description, and no other work has been reviewed or permitted. No removal of trees, shrubs, or alteration of naturally vegetated areas is permitted by this decision. This is only for the build. All construction and demolition materials and excavated soil should be disposed of off-site in a legal manner. No tracking of sediments onto public roadways, and if it happens, sweep it up. No filling or grading on the property beyond what is required for the approved work. This is exactly the same basically as the other one. All of these words are, I think I used the same one. Rooftop runoff from the addition shall be infiltrated on the lot and not discharged into roadway or adjacent lots. And as Jamal described, they're just going to connect into the existing subsurface system. Again, we can maybe just talk a bit offline about to make sure that sizing is appropriate. But obviously it doesn't matter because there's already an addition there. No pesticides, herbicides, fungicides to be used within 100 feet of the DPW. And members of the commission or staff may inspect the premises just to examine the ongoing project. And the last 2 are just the standard conditions about any non-compliance shall be deemed a violation and how you go about signing off, getting your occupancy permit.
Okay. Any questions by the commission? Edits, changes? Okay, do you folks representing the homeowners, do you have any questions about what you've heard?
No, everything is straightforward. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, then could I have a motion to approve a negative conditional determination for the project at 17 Spruce Hill Road under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and State Wetlands Protection Act?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 6-0. The project at 17 Spruce Hill Road is approved.
Thank you so
You're all
much.
set, folks.
Thank you so much. Have a nice night.
All right, you too. Okay, now we are at a minor engineering change request for 20 Stony Brook Road. It's to install a patio. DEP file number 122-643. All right, someone here for that one.
Yes.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi there. So why don't you introduce yourself with your full name and state your location where you live, and then you can start talking, I guess.
All right. So I'm Sarah Beaumont. Nick Manning's here too. And we're living at 20 Stony Brook Road. We just moved in upon completion of the building and are still working on the landscaping. We were looking to add 2 patios, 1 small patio and 1 larger patio. That is I guess, minor change of engineering from the original plan. And then we were going to, they are both within the fenced area that was a distance from the wetlands that was initially marked in the original plan with the builder. And then we just were looking to add on the additional work that we thought was in the scope, but are looking to do the change of engineering now.
Didn't work.
Okay. John or Eileen? John?
Yeah, sure, I'll take this one. So this is a minor engineering change because there's an existing order of conditions that the builder holds for this project and hasn't gotten a certificate of compliance yet. So the work is being proposed not by the holder of the order of conditions, but by the new owners. So the commission did a site visit yesterday, and I think there was some fairly unanimous surprise at the grade of the proposed patios, which the base I guess crushed stone or whatever it is, base was already down. It was fairly high. So I guess this is somewhat pushing the bounds of what a minor engineering change be. It's fairly close to amendment territory, so it's really your call. So on the one side, it's certainly within the area that you propose, that you will permit it to be altered. Then the footprint of the yard inside the erosion controls where you allowed work to take place and disturbance to take place, but it is changing the grade. Apparently, it's not changing the imperviousness because they're going to use pavers, and there's the base that they put in there obviously looks pretty permeable under the pavers. So I guess you just have to decide whether or not the change in the amount of grade, well, actually, the change in the amount of fill and the increased elevation is something you feel comfortable approving as a minor engineering change. It's really your call.
A logistics question first. Given that the order of conditions for the property was approved by was requested by someone else, in other words, the builder owns that.
Right.
Can they do an amendment to that permit as the owner, or do they have to actually file?
No, so the holder of the order of conditions needs to request the amendment.
And so if he wasn't going to do that, or willing to do that, or want to do that, then these people would have to file a notice of intent.
Yeah, but that would be kind of messy because there's still an order of conditions outstanding. So then you would have 2 orders of conditions on the same property.
Talk about messy.
Yeah, that would be very messy because he hasn't gotten the certificate of compliance, which means he hasn't probably even done the as-built yet. And so they would be doing work to change the site, which could potentially endanger his getting a certificate of compliance.
Oh,
This is why we proposed the MEC. It just seemed easier.
yeah,
Cleaner.
I get it.
So as long as you're comfortable with the amount of fill, this seems like the way to go.
Okay. All right, I think we have that input from our administrator. All right, so Gail, do you want to start the discussion?
Well, I have concerns about the fill, in part because of the existing fill that was brought in is not clean fill, and it's not going to support any type of growth of anything besides a few invasives. But a fair amount of topsoil will have to be brought in beyond that. And so I think there needs to be some information of, how much, what the grade is going to be, how it's going to change, to be able to approve this. How it is now, it could be a very steep grade going down that might cause more erosion and washout. That might be a problem.
But just to add to what John was saying, if that's okay, I met their landscape site, and he was proposing a fairly
Gentle.
It's going to extend about halfway from the end of the patio to the fence. So it's going to be over maybe 12 feet or
So
something.
it's not going to go the whole,
Nope.
they're not going to try to level, okay. And is he still planning on using that?
He said he could do it more steeply if you would prefer.
Is he still planning on using that dirty fill?
I don't know anything about that, sir.
Because I'm not very, that's.
We're
that's
all
something-
for having that removed and replaced with a better
Yeah.
quality fill. We don't want that to be in our yard or to hold up any of the project.
You wouldn't want that if you ever decide to grow a tomato, it's like hazardous waste that you have in your backyard. It is, with asphalt in it. Asphalt in it.
Condition the minor engineering change to include a requirement that fill be removed.
Yeah, okay. And I guess then the other thing is not for you, but Eileen, you were gonna reach out to the builder because, or look back that whether there was a condition to remove the debris that was in the wetland, that there's still, it's old debris that's there that you thought that was maybe something, a condition that was asked.
Check it right now while you guys are talking.
Okay, but that's my only thing then.
Sure, thank you. I was only reacting to your term hazardous waste because I used to do that work. There's a very specific definition.
No,
I wasn't laughing at what you were saying, actually. It was just such a reaction.
Okay, you can laugh. I feel love. Not offended.
I'm laughing at you.
I don't have any problems with the quantity of the fill going in. It's the issue with the quality of the fill. So I would strongly recommend that we add a condition that fill be replaced with something that's less contaminated.
Right. All right, Don.
Yeah, as long as that the fill is substituted for clean fill. Issues.
All right, Jennifer, anything on this one?
Nothing more than what everyone else has already said. I agree with everyone else's comments.
All right, Ed, anything more on this one?
Just one other thing, I'm definitely in favor of having that fill removed. The downspout that's coming on the way we entered into the area in the back, that corner downspout, where is that water emptying out to?
There is a infiltration system that should be, it's behind the existing deck, if you remember, in between the two patios.
Okay. And I was just curious about that. That's good. Thank you.
All the gutters for the entire house, I think, are going into there.
Okay. Kent?
Nothing to add, just the fill thing everybody noted, so.
Okay. I would add that I did have some concern about that patio where all that stone is now. I had some concerns about the direction of the runoff. And I think do you have a draft of conditions, Eileen or John?
No, since it's a minor engineering change, it doesn't.
All right, so we can just decide what we're going to do and you'll just issue it. Is that the way it works?
Right.
All right, I think the conditions for the minor engineering change that should be appended should say something about either it has to be clearly so that the runoff goes away from your neighbor's property, or if there's any doubt, you need to have the landscaper construct a shallow swale that will essentially take the runoff off of that patio to the back of your property, so you don't have problems with your neighbor at a later date. Okay, so we should put those conditions in, some condition like that in. You can word it however you think is right. And I agree with the condition, I agree with the comments everyone has said about the quality of the fill. We need to not allow what's there. It has to be removed. And if the fill is going to be used, it needs to be clean fill. And if the grading sloping down over 10, 12 feet is important to the commission, I think the conditions on whatever side that is, the north side or east side, it should say that in the conditions that you're right. That the slope off of that patio should slope down over 10 feet to the current ground level or something. Otherwise, you have nothing to measure it against if they create something else. We're gonna, so is there any other specification on the project that we would write into the condition? Can anyone think of anything that is important?
That wouldn't already be in the conditions for the.
Gail was actually right. We had specified the removal of debris in front of two particular flags. So when I look at where those flags are, it's right around where Gail was talking about. So I'll speak to Frank about making sure that that goes as well.
Because that would
necessarily be on that.
And they, that would hold up the certificate of compliance.
It would have, yeah.
All right, so is there anyone else that has a comment on the minor engineering change for number 20, what is it? 20 Stony Brook Road? All right, do we need a vote on this at all? To
approve the minor engineering changes discussed.
with the conditions as discussed. All right, can we have a motion to approve the minor engineering change with the conditions as discussed?
So moved?
Second?
Second,
Don, how do you vote?
yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. By a vote of 6-0-0, the minor engineering change at 20 Stony Brook Road is approved. Okay, folks, you're all set.
Thank you.
If you need any help from us at the office, just call them and I'm sure you'll get whatever you need.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, next on the agenda is item 8, a continued public hearing for a notice of intent in 59 and 61 Middlesex Turnpike by Noria Energy Corporation to demolish the existing gas station and convenience store and restaurant building and construct a new gas station and convenience store. It's DEP file number 122-657. It's located again at 59 and 61 Middlesex Turnpike. It is the old D'Angelo's restaurant and gas station that's there now.
Hi, good evening. Scott Goddard, wetland scientist, owner of Goddard Consulting, and represent the owners and applicants for this project.
Can you come up?
Yeah, no, hey, no problem.
That way you'll be on screen.
Hey, all the better, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so your microphone is.
Yep, right here.
Well, it's actually that's.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
So these circles now.
Oh, what are these things then?
They're
Relics.
microphones too.
They're dead microphones.
It's up to BCAT whether they turn them on or not.
They're on.
But BCAT is preferring.
Oh, whether they turn them down.
Those ones are.
Those go to the room? Yeah.
That's for the room.
Yeah.
All this technology around me, it's making my head spin.
So for this evening, we've been in receipt of a draft order of conditions, and that was emailed this morning, so thank you for that. A couple of minor administrative comments were made by the team to you all, and I guess we're here just for the discussion of the order. I brought the plans in case we need to review anything, but I have no additional presentation. But overall, the project team is satisfied with the draft order of conditions, and we look forward to closing that out tonight.
All right, and you do realize you don't have an agreed upon plan from the planning board and that you may have to come back and the applicant may have to refile for either an amendment or a new notice of intent in the radical case.
We understand that completely, yes. Yep.
All right. So John or Eileen, do you have comments for us on this one?
Nope. We have a draft decision ready.
All right, let's see if there's any further comment. Gail? Bill?
No.
Don?
Nope.
Jennifer?
No, I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Ed?
No.
Kent?
No.
All right. Well, one of the things I had one
Yeah,
question.
let's save it paper.
One of the things that we talked about during the various discussions that we had was developing a plan for bank improvement. Could you summarize what that is? Or,
I think the request that I saw in the written record on that was specifically related to trash and trash control and pickup, or was it something more than that you were looking for?
well, that's why I'm asking the question, because
And that's what I haven't been intimately involved in these hearings, but I did review all the files and the records, and
Right.
I found it.
that's about all I remembered, and I'm wondering if you or our staff remember anything different.
No, I think that's it. It's a very steep bank. There's not much you could do there. I mean, you wouldn't want to dig and plant anything. It's,
That's why I'm just checking.
there is a lot of trash and the commission wanted it picked up.
And I think there's a condition that addresses cleaning that up. No problem there.
Yeah, I was asking the question because that's all I remembered too.
Yeah, sure thing.
All right, and all right, everything else, a few minor comments I have can be handled through the order. So you want to, is there anyone, the hearing is open, is there anyone in the audience for 59 and 61 Middlesex Turnpike that would like to make a comment into the record or have a question or a concern? Guess not. Okay. The answer is no. So, John or Eileen, would one of you?
Sure, I'll start. So I'll start with the bylaw findings. So it's collated with the bylaw behind the order of conditions. And as Mr. Goddard mentioned, the applicant team has already reviewed this. So, and they made a couple edits that are incorporated in this. So as much for the audience as it is for them. But the first page is just all the filing history and the project. As you can see, there were 6 different hearing dates for this, but half of them didn't have testimony. Second page of the findings is all the plan references. And that's half of the third page. So wetland values. So the project is within buffer zone and the riverfront area. The entire site is either in riverfront area or land underwater. So the only portion of the site that's not in the riverfront area is Vine Brook itself, which is its water. In the findings, there's under the wetland values and areas subject to protection, there's a mention of the slight reduction. It's negligible, but there is a slight reduction. And I mentioned that the commission finds that there is no substantially equivalent economic alternative with less adverse impact. It's obviously a redevelopment project and a really tight one. And the commission tried to pull it back from the river as best it could. Stormwater management is a discussion of the stormwater management, and on the next page, how it meets the performance standards. Including for infiltration. Is an increase in recharge because it's an underground infiltration system, which is an improvement on the existing condition. Other findings halfway down the page 4. So this does serve permit under the town's erosion and sedimentation control permit. And then on page 5 is the proposed decision, which is under the bylaw And the bylaw conditions. Bylaw condition for A, excuse me, condition 2 includes a proposed bond of $20,000.
Okay. All right.
Order of conditions, once again, the administrative conditions include the plan references, all standard conditions. Page 3 is the beginning of the pre-construction conditions. They're all standard. Page 4 is the beginning of the erosion control applications, obviously, requiring erosion control with hay bales and silt fence, because there's a steep slope. And silt sacks in the street in front. And as normal, the condition reserves the right to require additional erosion controls. Page 5, standard pollution prevention controls and stormwater management. 45, being the rooftop and driveway M plan. Condition 47 is a fairly new condition that we're putting in all projects now, is a requirement for taking the O&M plan to the Registry of Deeds and recording it. 48 is the condition for removing the trash from the riverbank, including trash within Brook itself. 49 is the requirement for the plantings, and that's a perpetual condition. 50 is a prohibition of planting invasives. And the last few conditions are the standard conditions about how to get a certificate of compliance.
What do you want?
Just got a typo, a spelling typo for certificate, but that's it.
All right, so, Gail, anything?
No.
Bill?
Just number 33, stockpiling not allowed within 50 feet of the wetlands or the brook. Is that feasible even on this site, or is that an issue that would not be able to be met by that restriction?
So they're down at the bottom of the slope.
I mean, it's all asphalt as it, or concrete as it is, shouldn't be a problem.
I don't know, they've gotten a chance to review it. Which number are we talking about?
33.
Stockpiling.
Just wondering if the 50 feet is even feasible on that property. It's a fairly small property.
Right.
Whole thing is close to the stream.
This lots together are over an acre.
Is it 50 feet from the stream that's still on the property?
Is when they're building,
this way?
when they're building the
Towards the
convenience
front.
store, they're not gonna have enough with it 50 feet exclusion limit, they won't be able to lay down any materials.
That's what I'm wondering.
So what's the different distance from the erosion controls to the water in the wetlands? I mean, it's not like they're right at they're probably 20 or 30 feet from the wetlands.
Am I picturing this wrong? I mean, aren't they doing work exactly almost right on the bank?
So that's the top of the slope. That's not the edge of the resource area, though. The water doesn't come up to the top of that slope.
And the wetlands don't come up to the top of the slope, does it?
No.
Well, they can ask for an administrative change if,
There looks like there's probably room to do it. It's going to be tight. There was flexibility given to only stockpiling within the limit of work area, but
gonna change that from 40 to 50,
yeah, I think
like that? All right,
Being 50 to 40?
50 to 40, yeah.
that seems appropriate. Yeah.
All right, why don't we just say 40 feet?
What would you like to look at?
All right, so let's keep going on this. Bill, anything?
That's all I have.
Don, anything further?
No, nothing for you.
Jen?
Nothing further, thank you.
Ed?
Nothing to add.
Kent, anything further?
Nothing to add.
All right, a couple of small things. I'm asking the commission, do you think we should be requiring a sign that says no snow storage allowed? No stockpiling of snow allowed, something like that? Because I can picture that requirement getting lost in during the heavy storms, that the contractor has to know he has to be responsible for taking it off. Everyone okay with that?
Sure.
On the fence.
Somewhere,
Fence if they-
wherever you think is appropriate. There should be when he's pushing the snow, when he sees that sign,
A place where, you know,
it's sort of,
parking spaces that they might, want to store it at, I guess, right?
yeah, right.
Probably behind the building.
That little lawn
No
area to
snow,
the side.
no snow storage allowed. Okay, and the applicant is doing sweeping twice per year. I just want to just revisit this with the commission. Are they okay with twice a year, or do we need to have it and as needed, or?
That seems pretty minimal, twice a year.
Well, I kind of thought that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking you again.
When you think of, stuff that's gonna be tracked in there and,
Proximity.
yeah.
Once a quarter.
So 4 times a year.
You want to, do you want to say 4 times a year, or more if needed? If the applicant or the commission determines more is needed?
Sure.
You want to do something like that?
Yes.
That way we get the right to ask for more if it's apparently it needs.
That's reasonable, yeah.
Okay. We're always reasonable. What are you talking
Of course.
And the last thing I wanted to ask the commission is, I can see a situation where, or we've had a situation where trash gets thrown down the bank, as you know. They're going to be putting up a fence. Should we take pains to specify that the fence goes all the way to the bottom, that there's no space, that trash can just sweep underneath?
How tall is the fence? It can also go over the top of the fence.
I don't remember the fence. Is it a chain link?
So to replace the fence, I mean, there's a condition to replace the fence.
I'm just concerned with if there's a space, do we have to be specific, constructed in such a way that we, just a performance condition, that we not allow trash to get
Blown under.
blown underneath?
So you can require, so there's a condition in there, as guys had mentioned, you wanted the fence replaced, so there's a condition there, you can specify what type of fence. I mean, chain link would probably stop most trash.
Right, if it went to the ground. Chain link with minimum space.
I'm just concerned about trash, not the type of fence.
Yep, I like it.
What about a similar fence that went along Mall Road and the sidewalk? We asked that same question there too, and that chain link fence looks pretty nice.
Where you talking, Ed?
Behind the Sears building that got torn down, that whole conduit through there.
That does look pretty nice.
I mean, this is like behind a gas station. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's static, so that.
So you're saying even an ugly chain link?
I think chain link works. What it looks like, you can decide.
All right, so a chain link constructed such a manner that trash can't blow down the bank. How's that?
Can't go under.
Can't go under. How's that? All right.
Fine.
All right. All right. Does anyone else have any comments on the proposed order of conditions? All right. Could I have a motion to close the hearing for the project at 5961 Middlesex Turnpike, DEP file number 122-6457?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes by a vote of 600. The hearing is closed. Could I have a motion to approve the findings under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 for the project at 5961 Middlesex Turnpike, DEP file number 122-6457?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
4.
Yes.
Chair votes yes by a vote of 600. The findings for 5961 Middlesex Turnpike are approved. Could I have a motion to approve the order of conditions under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and the State Wetlands Protection Act for 5961 Middlesex Turnpike, DEP file number 122-6457?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The order of conditions is approved by a vote of 6-0-0 for 5961 Middlesex Turnpike. Could I have a motion to request $20,000 performance surety under the authority of Burlington Bylaw Article 14 for 5961 Middlesex Turnpike for DEP file number 122-6457?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion on the amount?
Just, you keep saying 1226457, it's just
Yeah.
657.
This says 6457.
657.
657. Where does it say that?
The top of the order of conditions.
Top of the order.
Top decision? Okay.
I'm just reading what I'm given.
I don't write them, I just read them, right?
Yeah, I don't make it, I just read it.
Okay.
All right, so it's 657.
Right.
So for the record, all those motions should say 122-657.
Correct.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor for $20,000. There's been no further discussion. Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And chair votes yes by a vote of 6-0-0. The request to post $20,000 surety under 5961 Middlesex Turnpike under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 is. Okay,
Thank you very much.
we're all set.
Have a good evening.
Good
Thank
luck
you.
getting that other approval you need.
No problem.
Well, okay,
Thank you.
And with confidence.
all right, that is confidence. We'll see. Okay. So now, let's see. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is we have item number 9. It's a continued public hearing, erosion sedimentation control permit. Its address is 15, 25, 35, 45, and 95 Network Drive. The hearing has been proposed, project is proposed by Nordblum Company. It's to construct a science building with associated parking, with landscaping, and with utilities. Okay, so I gather someone's here for that one?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Todd Fremont Smith from Nordblom. With me is Frank DePietro from BSC Group. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking. And Marissa Valentino from BSC Group. And this is, I think, our third hearing before the board. I think I'm going to let Frank and Marissa address any remaining questions that were discussed at the last board and then take final questions at the end, if that's possible.
Okay. I think that's fine.
Thank you.
Frank or Marissa, do you have any comments on this at all?
A couple of items. One, we had filed a response to the commission's questions from the first hearing. We could go over that, or if you folks have had a time to look at that and had questions, we could address it that way. There are two little more details we'd like to add with regard to that response letter. So the item 3 response was dealing with the evaluation of the existing on-site detention basins. That was a condition, or a very similar condition, was in the 2000, I think it was 14, if I'm not mistaken, 17, 2017 approval by the erosion sediment control for the site. The issue at hand is that we're very willing to undertake that evaluation, the survey. Talking to our survey folks, right now the vegetation in those areas are extremely dense, and they would have some difficulty. So we would request that we would be allowed to undertake that survey in the fall when the leaves and the vegetation had sort of died down. If that's something that's acceptable to the commission, that would be very helpful. If not, our surveyors go in there with the machetes and do their survey. But either way, we just wanted to sort of go through that. And we have a lot of work for our surveys. We don't want to lose any in the wilderness of those detention ponds. The second item relates to the response we put in for item 4, which was a request to take a look at the wetlands that are downstream on the other side of Middlesex Turnpike. And I spoke with one of our wetland scientists, and what they would suggest is that we certainly could go out there. We certainly coordinate that meeting with the staff. They'd like to bring a soil scientist. And the reason being, they can certainly look at the vegetation, but they really don't have anything to compare that vegetation to for the 25 years ago before the project was built. It's a relatively short time, so there may not be a buildup of sediment, but what they suggested, they could take a coring just immediately downstream, and that might give an indication of was there a change in the sediment from some time back. It's going to be an inexact evaluation, but if suddenly the sediment was, I'll use a gray color, and in the last half inch it's a black color, that might indicate something's going on there. And that would be done again in conjunction with the commission staff present. Other than that, if you had questions on that letter, or there was a comment about the internal circulation for pedestrians, we provided a plan for that. We can certainly go over that in more detail if you'd like, but be happy to answer your questions and hopefully get you out there a little bit sooner. And I just want to acknowledge, I'm not very good at sharing. So my very competent colleague, Marissa Valentino, is sharing. So I don't have to worry about making messes of things.
Okay, well, I'm glad you admit that you're not good at sharing. Yeah, I think if you'd like to make, I would suggest that the thing of most interest to the commission is you said the inspection and evaluation of existing basins. Do you have something to say on that tonight? I wasn't clear on that.
Okay, so what we would propose would be to go in and do an as-built survey. There was not one done originally. So we'd go in and propose to do an as-built survey of the current basins. We'd then do an evaluation going back to the original approved design plans, go through, figure out what the incremental volume was, look at what the design was, the invert elevation size of the outlet pipes, compare the as-built to the original approved design. We suspect that the general shape of the basin, the outlets, the inverts haven't changed, but it's been 25 years, and there may be, or there's probably likely some sediment that's filled up in those basins over that time frame. So in fact, I'll make up a number. If it was 100% when they were built, maybe because of sediment, vegetation, whatever in there, their capacity might be at 80%. And
So just
determine that, and then what we would propose is go back in there and essentially restore that original volume.
All right, so are you suggesting that we should simply require this in the order of conditions, that be done, and then if something needs to be reported or done, you would then come back to the commission with whatever?
So what we would propose to do is we'd go through, do the survey, would do the evaluation, provide a report to you. And if in fact there was physical work that needed to be done, that would be a report. We would then coordinate that with the commission before we went out and did that. And then the timing, the discussion that we had was that this will be done before final certificate of occupancy. There may be an urgency to get it done sooner than that. Our only, again, sort of request, not a stipulation, would be our surveyors would like to have the vegetation not as dense as it is right now. So wait till the fall when the leaves are off.
Right. So simply, we should refer to this in both the findings and order of condition is what I'm asking. So that way, so there's a record that it's going to be done.
Correct.
All right.
And again, there may be some question about when you want to have that done.
Right. And is that true for the evaluation of the wetlands? You mentioned that.
That could be done sooner. Again, that should be done, I think, when the vegetation is in decent shape and stuff. So I've talked to our environmental folks. They could be out within a couple of weeks.
All right. Okay. But that wouldn't hold up doing what we're doing here tonight to go over the draft. No. All right. So the only thing left that I had in my list, if the commission, other commissioners have other things they want to hear from you, is about the walking path. And we tried to communicate more clearly at the last meeting what, at least I personally had in mind, something more than what's there, whether it be benches or lighting or signage or whatever the case, or improvements to a walking trail, something that would indicate a sort of a circular path around and connecting some of those properties. So if you have something.
to make a comment? Finish what you were saying.
I was just going to say, the commission could hear about that tonight. Yes.
So I would not want to see increased lighting, because of,
That's,
it's just not something that's good.
sure, I just knew that,
That's the only thing that, okay, go ahead.
not a problem. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that, perhaps?
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think we have heard that comment, and I think it's a good idea. And I think we all think it's a good idea. So I don't know how to solve that problem other than to make it a condition of this approval that we would set up a working group or a subcommittee, and we would go out together maybe and walk those pathways and even walk the woodland trails that we've all been talking about for a long time. This is a big project. I think it's a good time to lean in a little bit and accelerate that process. So I don't know how Mr. Keeley, how we would memorialize that commitment, but I am okay, committing to some kind of a working group or a study that BSC could do and report back to the commission on general pedestrian connectivity. Particularly, I think in the woodland areas, we're going to need your help in understanding as we make our way through the non-developed areas if we need any additional approvals, or whether Mr. Buckley's idea that Eagle Scouts could help us. I think that's almost a separate project, but we wouldn't have an objection to having that in here in some way, a commitment to advancing that project.
All right, so would any of the commissioners like to comment on that at all? What Mr. Freeborn Smith has suggested, that we immortalize this in the documents, the permit, in the requirements, and that this is something maybe we collaborate on?
So I have a comment. I mean, this is an erosion and sedimentation control permit, so I think you should just maybe Mr. Todd Fremont Smith take his word for it and hold him to it, but I don't think a condition. This is a stormwater permit. I just don't think a condition like that really fits in this permit.
And that's fine as well. I can work with Mr. Keeley over the next several weeks to formalize some kind of program that's just in good faith to make sure this happens. I know this is something that the board's been talking about for some time. We've made some progress, but there's always it's never too late to make more progress. So either way, Mr. Keeley, however you want to do it.
All right, so how does the commission feel? They agree with that approach?
Yeah, some separate memorandum of understanding or something.
Yeah, Mr. Fremont Smith, your word is always good.
Thank you. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. All right. All right. So are there any other issues before we review the documents? Those were sort of the three things that I actually had in mind.
Just want to point out that I wasn't at the last meeting, but I did watch the tape, so I am eligible to vote tonight on this issue.
All right. Anyone else? Is there anyone? This is an open hearing for an erosion and sedimentation control permit for 15, 25, 35, 45, and 95 Network Drive by the Nordblum Company. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment on this one? All right, so we're in a position to review the documents. Let's do that.
So this draft decision is extremely similar to the previous decision that was issued, I think, in 2014 for the site for the office building. It's just been tweaked a little, updated with some of the findings are beefed up. So there's a discussion on the first page about how it addresses the standards, the stormwater standards. On page 2, obviously, the plans have changed since the previous decision. On page 3 is highlighted, I think, in your copies.
Yes.
3 is, that's the condition about the evaluation of the existing stormwater system. So basically it says before construction begins. So I'm not really sure what your timing for the construction is, but so before building permits, which I don't think you were planning on breaking ground before the fall, right?
Correct.
That, you guys have reviewed this, I take it?
They received it.
Draft decision. Have you had a chance to look at it? No? Good. So do you have it?
We're looking at it now. I think that condition's fine, John.
Okay.
There's no reason we can't do that over the summer.
Okay. Then on page 4, it's all standard conditions,
Okay.
pollution prevention, erosion control.
Yep.
Page 5 is more erosion control conditions. These are all standard and I think all identical to the previous permit.
Okay. Yep.
Then on page 6, there's a mention about the O&M plan. Condition 28 is the requirement to submit a copy of the SWIP prepared for the EPA. The site is over an acre. Condition 29 is the requirement for weekly inspection reports. Condition 31 is requirement that all the installation of the stormwater systems be witnessed by PE. Condition 33 is the requirement that the O&M plan be recorded at the registry. And condition 34 is a requirement for submission of surety of $25,000.
John, is the evaluation of wetlands referred to in here?
So I think it is.
It was, number 2, it said, whether on this parcel of land and including the discharge point on the southern side of Middlesex Turnpike.
Which number are you talking?
Number 2, the highlighted one.
Oh,
And Frank, the question is, can we do that in time if we wanted to start construction, say in, October or something?
We certainly can do the survey at any time. It's more convenient if there's less vegetation. The evaluation of the downstream wetlands could be done, again, within a week, whenever we can settle, probably at this point after the 4th of July, I'm just thinking. Next week's going to be, but we certainly could set something up for, within the next month on the survey, on the evaluation of the wetlands downstream of Middlesex Turnpike. Whenever, if in fact you're going to get your construction starting in September and the leaves on off, we'll make sure we do the evaluation before then.
okay, so we're okay on that.
Unless, John, you wanted to add language about something that, unless otherwise scheduled by the staff or a schedule approved by the staff regarding the southern side, it's up to you. We can do it either way. You can.
I think so.
Right.
Sure,
Yeah.
Sure.
But certainly evaluating the existing on-site stormwater structure can happen this summer. That's not hard.
Right. Okay. Is there anything further on this?
I just want to say one thing before we vote on this and close it and you guys from Nordblom disappear. I'm going to bring up something on other business at the end that relates to Nordblom, so you may want to hang on for a few more minutes after this.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so if we're ready to go, could I have a motion to close the hearing for the erosion and sedimentation permit for the 15, 25, 35, 45, and 95 Network Drive project? Second?
Second.
Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, the hearing is closed. Could I have a motion to approve the erosion and sedimentation control permit to the Nordblom Company under Burlington Bylaw Article 14, Section 6 for 25, 35, 15, 45, 95 Network Drive to construct a bioscience building with associated parking, landscaping, and utilities.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer? Jennifer?
Yes, sorry about that.
That's all right. Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The erosion sedimentation control permit is approved. And there's a requirement to post surety for the project?
25,000.
Okay, could I have a motion to request the posting of $25,000 surety under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 for the project at 15, 25, 35, 45, and 95 Network Drive to the Nordblom Company?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion for $25,000 surety. Is there any changes? Okay, Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes?
And Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Okay, and the chair votes yes. By a vote of 6-0-0, the request to post surety is approved, the requirement. Okay, so I think we're all set on this.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thanks very much. Appreciate
you're
it.
entirely welcome, folks. Now, why don't we take up other business now? And
Okay.
do you need a motion to take it out of order since it's only administrative stuff left? No. Okay, so we're on other business. Okay, Bill, you had a subject that you wanted to bring up.
I do.
Okay,
Let me just pass out these here.
okay, I have one.
I have one.
Okay. What I want to discuss is the property at 23 4th Avenue in Burlington occupied by Abbott Laboratories. At the May 27th Concom meeting, Jennifer asked about the tree cutting that was going on at that property on 3rd and 4th Ave. Before the work began, before that tree cutting work began, this lot contained a grove of more than 50 healthy, mature trees. And this property and others in the immediate vicinity had created a beautiful campus-like atmosphere. I was very proud of Burlington every time I drove down this area because of all the trees that were maintained. To me, it was an excellent illustration of the right way to have business people and nature coexist. I visited the site after I had heard that there was tree cutting and saw that this was not merely some minor tree cutting, but almost the entire section of property had been completely clear cut with all the stumps and roots grubbed out. 44 trees had been removed. I was stunned and it actually turned my stomach to see such devastation of the natural beauty that was there. I dropped a note to our town administrator, Paul Segarino, asking what the property owners were doing, and he inquired with Nordblom, and they were told that they were, quote, creating an additional green space park for the Northwest property tenant, customers, or visitors, and creating it with a covered pergola and ancillary green space. And the plan was approved by the town planning department in April. I asked Mr. Keeley if he had been approached by the planning board on this matter, and he said no, they had approved it as an insignificant change. And John provided me a copy of the plan that had been approved by the planning department. Those of you who are seeing the plan for the first time, it's extremely hard to read, but I can walk you through it. The circled trees are the ones that remained. All the others in the background, the trees that don't have circles, were cut down, and I counted them today. There were 44 of them. The replacement material involves this hatchwork, the little crosshatch stuff, which is all precast concrete pavers on concrete. The whole section area, that semicircle, is all grass. There is the seating are I'm looking for the word here. Granite block benches, and there are tables that are going to be made of powder-coated metal. In my opinion, completely razing such a naturally occurring green space to install an artificially created green space is a total oxymoron. The large amount of shades that will be removed is going to enhance the heat island effect. Almost all the materials going in are not natural except for grass, which is going to require significant water usage to maintain. The impact to air filtering and water filtering by removing those trees is significant. Those trees provided clean air for the workers and walkers in the area. Destroying any entire naturally occurring grove of dozens of healthy, mature trees is never an insignificant change. By calling it an insignificant change, there was no public hearing required. To me, something's wrong with a system that the Concom across the street at Revolution fought to defend each and every tree because of for the installation of those solar panels. And yet now, directly across the street, Abbott can cut 44 trees without regard to environmental impact or even a public hearing. My suggested actions that I'm bringing up to the commissioners here is to have, first of all, the Concom send a letter to the planning board disputing the classification of such a tree cutting as an insignificant change, and I would even like to suggest that we send a letter to the editor educating the public that such tree cutting has impacts on Burlington's natural and aesthetic environment. Maybe we advocate for a tree ordinance in Burlington as part of this letter to the editor. And my question to the commission would be, do we want to sign such a letter as the commission? Or would you prefer that I sign it as a commission member, or that I sign it as Bill Boyman, Burlington citizen? I mean, those are the items that I'm asking the commission to discuss. But to me, I don't understand the rationale that went on here. I'm assuming it was proposed by Nordblom to do this kind of tree cutting. I thought it was beautiful the way it was.
And I just want to add, in
Yeah.
addition to the loss, that, I mean, having those mature trees is also an important carbon sink.
Yes.
And isn't there a committee related to climate change in town?
Yes.
Writing, so I
Yes,
mean,
yes,
they
yes.
should be concerned about this as well and have some input.
All right, so, Mr. Fremont Smith, would you like to, I don't know if you do, would you like to make any comments on what?
Just a couple of things, Mr. Chairman, and I was not involved in this particular project, but it was a project that was forwarded by Nordblom Company, not Abbott Labs. Abbott is just a
Right.
tenant.
Right.
So I think the intention here was to create a new public space. There was a grove of trees. We have over 300 acres of land under our control there. Much of it is still forested. This is an area at the end of 4th Avenue, really in front of our office, basically. And I think the intent was to create a public amenity and assembly area, which is, significant monetary investment to change the look and feel of the area. We were working with, I saw on that plan, MDLA, which is a very well-respected landscape architecture firm. It is emotionally jarring, I agree, to see a bunch of trees removed that have been there for a long time. They were pine trees. They appear to be, again, it's an intentional act to create more of a public amenity space. I do think that the staff at my office went through the planning board. They originally came to me and said, do we need to go through the planning board? I said, absolutely. So they did file with the planning board. I'm not sure if there was any conservation jurisdiction here. I hear Bill's larger point that this is a larger issue. It's not really a conservation issue. It's just more of a forestry management issue. So I guess I would, ask that we wait and see the final result of this landscape architect's plan for the area. But I understand also the emotional reaction of seeing the removal of trees, which have been there for a long time. So I know that we did file with the town and get town permission. They didn't just go out there on a weekend and chop them down, but I also, I'm empathetic to the reaction that those trees are now gone. So that would be my only comment.
And I also want to emphasize the shade and kind of heat island effect. I mean, over the years, I avoid on any hot day driving over a Middlesex Turnpike because it is too darn hot. I mean, whether you're in your car or walking, there is hardly any shade. It is such a significant change going from some area where it's treed to an area of the concrete jungle where it's so hot. And can I also ask, what's the rationale for putting pavers on top of concrete? That kind of, aesthetically it may look good, but it defeats the purpose of pavers being good for infiltration.
And my gripe is not so much with Nordblom. Nordblom is welcome to propose whatever they want to propose, and it should be up to the town to decide what is appropriate and what isn't, and to give it proper consideration and proper public comment. And then, so.
I would be willing to sign it as part of the commission or as a citizen. So,
okay.
Whichever the commission approves, because those aren't coming back.
All right, let me go around to the rest of the commission and staff and see if there's any further comment. Kent, is there anything?
Not this time.
All right, Ed.
I just kind of agree. Something should go forth to the planning committee or at least ask some questions.
Okay, Dawn,
I would be willing to sign the letter as a commissioner. I think that it was some sort of a disconnect between us and the planning board. We should look into it, see what the rationale was.
Jurisdiction.
Jen, did I call on you?
No, not yet. But Bill, thank you for kind of formalizing all of this and bringing it to the commission. And I just want to say that I would absolutely be willing to sign anything that goes out, either as a private citizen or as a commissioner. And I think it's definitely worth it for us to explore, obviously, probably not tonight, but at future meetings, the idea of having the bylaw in there, just so that it's really clear cut going forward, that it is a, what dictates a significant change, what doesn't, just so it can be clear going forward.
Yeah, the main thing I would like to get from the planning board is that they realize that such a thing is not insignificant, and that there should be more of a discussion or open for comment from people such as us or other citizens who have, who live in Burlington and enjoy that like I did.
All right, John or Eileen, do you have any comments to weigh into the next one?
I guess the only comment I'd make is, so once the trees are gone and they started grubbing the site, they probably did fall under conservation jurisdiction because it's probably over 10,000 square feet of alteration. So it may require an administrative erosion and sedimentation control permit, probably not over 20,000, so it probably wouldn't come before the whole board. But if the land disturbance exceeds 10,000, that doesn't happen until after the trees are gone, of course. Tree cutting doesn't disturb it's the digging up of the roots, grubbing the site that actually triggers our jurisdiction.
Okay. All right, I'd like to make a couple of comments. I've been thinking about this. First of all, I'd like to recognize that Nordblom is almost always and usually environmentally sensitive when they do a lot of things.
I definitely agree with that.
They have worked well with the commission, and I think that in terms of an example of working with town offices, Nordblom has typically been very responsive to what the commission wants. Right? That's the first thing. The second item is that yes, the planning board was not sensitive to how we in the conservation would view it, but it did not come before us, so it did fall through the cracks. The third thing I would say is that I am not particularly in favor of the commission writing a letter to the editor or something like that. I feel like on an individual basis, I feel that's fine. But as what I think Nordblom has been a really, it's not that I'm defending Nordblom, but I think that they've been a good corporate citizen, have been environmentally responsive in a lot of ways that I really feel like it almost feels like a censure, and I'm not sure I want it to come across that way.
I don't mean it as a censure of Nordblom. I mean it as a censure of the
But I'm
planning.
concerned if we issue it as a letter to the editor as the commission or something like that. If we send a letter to the planning board, I have no issue. That's an interdepartmental thing. But I'm just suggesting sending a letter to the editor or something to publicize our dissatisfaction with this as a commission as a whole. I think that's a disservice to folks that have been really good corporate citizens that have worked with us.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it could also be a letter that's not necessarily, kind of, here's this development, it's, destroyed this natural site. It could be more structured that, Burlington needs to preserve as many trees as possible. As we lose trees across the town, that maybe it's time to think about, to protect what we have.
I think as individual commissioners, if 2 or 3 commissioners want to sign on to a letter, those points can be exactly made if you want to.
Okay.
I'm just saying as a governmental body issuing something that risks coming across as a censure to Nordblom, I don't know if I really want to do that.
Okay, so we can make it more generic.
Yeah, I mean, that's That's just, I mean, that's one person's,
Tree policy.
that's one person's opinion. And taking the opportunity to come across as for a tree bylaw in town, that maybe we should work to develop that, that's a very good point.
Okay.
And the other thing I'd say to you folks, Mr. Fremont Smith, I would say the following. I think in retrospect, if I was reflecting back on this, if I were in Nordblum Management's position, I think if they had come to us, we might have come to, I think you probably, almost probably, you would have been sensitized to how we look at a grove of trees like that and the aesthetics. I think you would have been sensitized. And I think you would have come to some accommodation to perhaps achieve your ends with a little bit different look and feel. Okay, to retain the existing look and feel while still accomplishing what you wanted.
Understood.
But I'm hoping that hearing this discussion, you may not want to hear this, but perhaps you could consider talking to your architect about what restoration might be modified, given the circumstances, to see what could be done. Okay, and I mean, what I'm thinking of is all that grass area, and I'm saying to myself, I mean, is it really necessary to have all that grass here? I don't know what a landscape architect would say. But certainly, I do agree with what Bill and Gail have said, have brought up, and Jennifer, that I thoroughly enjoyed the look and feel of having that dense grove of trees to walk through and to look at as you would walk by, and having it right in the middle of the 300-acre property that you folks manage, I thought was a substantial asset. So, you know, if I had to say anything that would be considered critical, it would be that perhaps you made a partial error in your approach to this upon reflection. I don't know. You can decide that.
Yep. I hear that. We hear the comments and I'll socialize them, and more than happy to report back to the commission.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for listening so patiently while we went through this. All right. Is there anything else for the folks at Nordblum at all on this?
This is Jennifer. I just wanted to add one more thing when we were talking about the letter that Bill is considering, penning to the editor. Personally, I think I see it as more of like a teachable moment, not as a look what Nordblum did. So my my gung-ho-ness over this letter going out is more of an education about like, hey, look what can happen if you take away trees, that sort of thing, not a slap on the wrist to you guys, because there really isn't anything in violation here. So just to clarify, my intent behind that is more of a public education piece rather than a slap on the wrist. So
Okay, that's good feedback, Jennifer.
Yep.
Okay, so with that, you folks at Nordblum, thank you very much, and good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Happy
night, Dr.
4th.
Thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you.
I hear you. Thank you.
Okay, so next on the agenda, let's keep going on this. We have a planning board comment.
Yeah, I think we have some.
Apparently.
All right. Do you have to formally tell the planning board that this project's approved, or will they just know?
Which projects?
59 and 61 Middlesex?
No, yeah, we'll let them know that we approved it. They have not finished with that project yet.
We know, right?
Right. And we can also let them know about 5961, which.
That's what I'm talking about, 5961.
Oh, okay. And 25 network as well.
Would you take some pains to tell them about that we have some walking path connectivity conceptual study that they've agreed to do, and they're going to work with the commission and perhaps the planning board, if they're interested.
Right. Okay.
Okay, would you mention that? Next is subcommittee and staff reports.
Do you want me to draft a letter to the planning board and get comments?
It's up to you. It's up to, they normally They normally
Or
make the
you-
letter, but it's up to, you can work it out between you.
Yeah, how do you want to
What do you,
address the comments, the trees, the tree cutting that we just had to discuss? Yeah, okay. I'll draft something because it's going to come from the commission.
Yeah.
That one will come from the commission, and
Yeah.
then that we can work on something separate for an educational thing with Jennifer.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, future meetings, live, hybrid versus WebEx only.
yeah, you should probably vote on that. So this certainly worked out well, but I think everybody likes.
It also saves on,
Yeah,
fuel.
so it's, the
Lights on here either.
legislature passed and the governor signed through sometime in April of 2022, you can have all remote meetings. So
Let me ask you something. Have you gotten any feedback from any members of the public or anyone else who has said this is much too difficult to do remote for me to participate?
no, and as you could see, we had a lot of remote participation from applicants tonight. I think a lot of the applicants prefer it.
Okay, has anybody said they couldn't get comments in on a project because of the remote stuff?
No, we haven't really had any projects with much of butter interest, but no, we haven't had any.
I guess, given a year of pandemic, people have found a way to get accustomed to Zoom and WebEx.
For WebEx.
I think it does make the meetings a lot more accessible for some people,
Right.
Especially people who have home care needs for children or dependent adults or whatever.
Yeah, they're traveling for business and they're sitting in the hotel room, they can still
Or
participate.
in the
Exactly.
winter or wherever,
Winter, yeah.
Okay, so could I have a motion to indicate the commission's preference for continuing with WebEx only meetings until it is changed?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, so Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 600. We will continue with WebEx only remote participation meetings.
Could I ask one question?
Yes,
It's a technical thing. It's kind of what I hinged on with you yesterday, John. What you have for a screen there, what's showing up on the screen? Just you guys or all of the
We
speakers?
see
up
you,
top?
Ed.
I think we're looking at exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah.
It's just being broadcast and shown here.
Like we always have seen before. Is that what
Yes.
you're- Okay.
Yeah.
What's working here? Okay, that's all I had.
okay. Upcoming meetings, we have one meeting in July 8th, and one meeting in August 12th. If anyone's not going to be there, please let staff know. Okay? Other business, is there anything else under other business?
I have something really quick. I know it's late, but it's just really quick, just information. So I've been, I've talked to someone at the health department, and I've been calling some state agencies regarding getting information about residential spraying for tick and mosquitoes. My concern is, pollinators and people exposure, that residents, people know when their yard is going to be sprayed, but as an abutter, I don't know. And it says in their information that you're supposed to be inside for like 30 minutes. Well, I'm outside oftentimes, and it's like a run in the house kind of thing. The person spraying has a mask, a respirator on, gloves and everything. Today I was coming out of a conservation land, and before I even had sight of any houses, my nose, my throat was starting to burn. I thought somebody was like sanding wood, like floors, because it just felt like this irritant. And when I got to the top of the trail, somebody was spraying the yard that abuts the trail, and it was quite irritating, and you could smell this in the neighborhood. So I found out that seems to be very little regulation of this industry. It's also hard to find out what they actually use, but they do things differently than what the state does. The state, which there are questions about that as well. But the state sprays at night when, presumably there's less pollinators. These spray in the day. They spray everything, including flowers and things like this. And so I just have concerns about it. And for my health, plus the my pollinators and everybody else's, but the birds and so forth. But anyways, I'm going to continue to drill down and try to get some contact at the state level, which hasn't been very successful so far. But if I come up against a brick wall, I'm going to start contacting legislators. And I think that everybody should be encouraged to do this because, I mean, you know, a lot of people have concerns about what they breathe, what they put in their bodies, but I think a lot of our public is not educated about what these things are and how they can be harmful. And I think the town should be educating people about other mechanisms, other ways to, you know, cut down on mosquitoes and ticks in your yard rather than, you know, spraying potentially hazardous chemicals sometimes, you know, every other week on a property. That's all.
I suspect that there's people in other communities, I mean, who have the same concerns. I'll see if I can find online. I mean, there's probably the other people you can alliances with who are trying to do the same sort of.
The health department is the person, my contact there has also been trying to contact somebody who's in charge of pesticides, the state, and has repeatedly not gotten any response. And I've had the same so far. And I did speak with some people at Middlesex, you know, the people that do the state town spraying, and they had concerns about the residential spraying. So.
Board of Health did put something on social media just a few days ago about
Pollinator Week, right? Yeah.
It wasn't even that. It was about putting, I think it was about using wood chips at the edge of your yard as being a good deterrent for, was it ticks, mosquitoes, or something? But it was a very natural.
You know, most people, most people in town have lawn. That's not a big habitat for ticks, so that's not a concern. And
people don't believe that though.
Noticed more of those people around this year and last year as opposed to the years previous.
Yep.
Perhaps what is a first step is a restraint on when they spray, the chemical they spray, and where they spray, and how close to a neighbor's yard when the wind is blowing in that direction.
Well, they tell you that they spray it on vegetation so it sticks to it, but you know, I can smell it. And today it certainly was aerial because, you know, it started to bother me before I even got up. But in addition, though, I mean, properties are so close, vegetation is so close, their documentation on their websites say that, you know, you should be inside for 30 minutes. You shouldn't be outside. But I don't get warning about this. You know what I mean? I come home from a walk or something, or I'm out in my garden that abuts another person's yard, and you know somebody's coming out with a mask and gloves and everything, and it just you know I run in the house and close all the windows. So, but
yeah, you literally could be on the other side of a chain link fence and just.
Yeah, no, it is. That's the kind of situation it is. But
okay.
Anyways,
is there anything else under other? Is there any, last thing I wanted to ask about, is there any progress on the strip of land off of Erin Lane leading into our conservation area?
So I haven't heard again from the scout. I'm not really sure what happened. So
could you redo contact and see if perhaps maybe we could get a plan to move forward?
And it might be nice if they want to take on a bigger project or another scout to maybe improve that part of the trail between the gas line and Fox Hill. That's really muddy in there. I think the boardwalk could be extended there.
Right. Okay, is there anything further? All right, then is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second. Don, how do you vote on adjournment?
Something else to shine, I think.
Gail, do you want to adjourn?
Yes,
Have a
please.
signature sheet, Larry.
Yeah. Bill?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Jennifer, do you want to adjourn?
I think so. Yeah.
All right, the chair votes yes. Okay, by a vote of 6-0, this meeting of the Conservation Commission of Burlington is adjourned. We have a few signatures to do.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, folks.